All right, we're going. We're good, bud. Ready, set, go.
Hey, everybody. Teddy Atlas with the fight. We're doing a live stream. We promised you on our last podcast, me and my son, that we would be doing more live streaming. And here we are. We like to keep our word. So, as you can see, I'm a caveman. Thank God I have Ben Garcia here helping me, and I have my beautiful son helping me. And Ben, you could touch up that screen right there in front of me so we can actually see my son's face. That would be great. We could do that because I don't even know how to move a mouse. You know, I mean, that's how pathetic I am when it comes to technology. But I do know something, thank God, about fighting, boxing, and commentating. So it's nice to be with you guys again. It really is nice to be back in this seat, just talking to the best people in the world, the fight fans. You know, we're going to do it again tomorrow across the pond. We're going to do the Catterall Barbosa fight. We're going to do that tomorrow afternoon. But right now, we're concentrating, obviously, the main event will be coming up. We have a co-feature, but the main event that we're going to really concentrate on is Keyshawn Davis and Dennis Berinchyk. Berinchyk is the WBO 135-pound champion. He won the title against Navarrete. It was an upset win 9 months ago, and he's 36 years old. I believe it's 36. I want to be sure of his
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and he's fighting, as I said, Keyshawn Davis 12-0 with 8 KOs. Berinchyk is 19-0 with 9 KOs. Both silver medalists from the Olympics. Keyshawn Davis from the 2020 Olympics, Berinchyk from the early Olympics, 2012. So it should be a good fight. I think that it's Keyshawn Davis's first title opportunity. If things go well for him, I think there will be more in different weight classes, I think, in his future, because I think he's still filling out a little bit. He's got the frame, he's got the skeleton that I like to talk about, where he can grow into other weight classes. But right now, that doesn't matter. All that matters is, can he win his first title tonight? When it gets closer to the fight, I'm going to give you my breakdown. I'm going to give you my prediction. I'm going to lay out the scenario of what both guys have to do. But right now, we're getting ready for the co-feature. The co-feature is a kid that, if you've been following the podcast, you know I like this kid a lot. He's 22 years old. He's from another place. We always thinking about, you know, the Mexican heritage, not just the Mexican heritage. You know, there's so many great champions, great fighters that come from all over the world, where there's a connection, a history, whether it's the Irish, whether it's the English, the Mexicans, you know, the whatever it happens to, the Americans, the Puerto Ricans have their share of that great history in boxing. So Xander Zayas, 22 years old, 154 pounds. He's rated across the board pretty high in all the organizations. He's number one in the WBO, and 20-0, 12 knockouts. I like the kid a lot. He's smooth as silk. He's solid technically. He goes to the body, he puts punches together. He's defensively responsible. He can go catch. He can box. He's cerebral. You know, he's always thinking in there. I like everything about him. Everything I've seen. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to get a peek at him. He's fighting Slowa Spoma, 20-0, 11 KOs, 32 years old. So he's 10 years older. He's from Germany. All of his fights have been either in Germany or he's had one fight outside of Germany over in Europe, but this is his first time fighting in the United States for Spomer. So we'll see how well he travels. You know, you hear about it all the time. You know, how does a basketball team, how does a football team travel? How does a fighter travel? You know, you got to get acclimated. You have to get your bearings. You know, you got to get on different schedules. It's part of it. It's part of the X factor of winning or losing a fight, dealing with, you know, that part of something that you've never dealt with before when you're going into just a whole different time zone, a whole different country. And again, you're fighting outside of your comfort zone. You're fighting outside of where it's been familiar to you. And we'll see how Spomer travels, but the main thing is we want to take a look at Zaya, see if he's ready for the world title fight. He's already calling out the champion at the WBO. I don't blame him. He's kind of a real gutsy guy, Fandora, but I see him fitting in that fight already. I see him, you know, at 20-0, ready to fight a guy like Fandora. So we'll see whether or not he gets through tonight unscathed.
With that being said there, bud, I want to ask you, we got a question for some of the viewers coming in. Matt Borgeson asking, with this fight coming up, Xander Zayas, some be a bit concerned to get something like the fight for Zoo and his last fight. Are they sleeping on Slomer, on his opponent tonight, and thinking ahead to Fandora, like you just touched on?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think they're sleeping on him. It's a good question. Anytime you're fighting a guy who hasn't learned how to lose yet, you're fighting something that's real. You know, guy 20-0, you know, he, as I said, he hasn't learned how to lose yet. He's 10 years older. He's got a lot against him. You know, he's fighting in another country, first time in the United States. Like I said already, he's stepping up in class. Zayas has a real good pedigree from the amateurs. I don't know Spomer's pedigree, but maybe you could fill me in on that. But I'm sure that he's had a pretty good amateur pedigree coming from over there. I'm sure that, you know, he's been around. But I always have question marks about a guy making his showcase fight, his stepping out fight at 32, 33, 34, you know, in the 30s. I do. I always have questions. Why now is he making that step out fight? This is a step out fight for him. Why is he doing it, you know, at 32? I mean, there's always a question. And usually my 50 years in the business have shown me that you get the answer to the question when you watch the fight. And usually, not always, but usually they can come up a little short. So I don't think Zayas is going to sleep on anybody. And look, there was an intangible there. There was definitely a big X factor in that fight with Zoo, Zoo was the big favorite against Fandora that the fan is, you know,
Well, the fight after that versus Motrazayev.
Yeah, for that fight, I think a lot of people, the bookmakers, were sleeping on him because that guy was so much better than the bookmakers anybody gave him credit for. And I think the reason they were sleeping on him, to be honest with you, Bud, was that he's a Muslim, and he had fought during Ramadan, and he was fasting, and he didn't have a good performance in the fight before Zoo. So I think they really took him for less than he really was. Okay, we got Zayas now, first round. I got it just for the fans out there that are watching with me. And welcome. Again, glad to be back in the seat with you guys. You know, it's a pleasure. It's a privilege. It's fun. I got 2 minutes and 1 second of the first round, just because you never know if you guys are synced in with the timing of my, you know, show you. I know a little technology, right? Are you guys impressed? You're a little impressed. That doesn't make me Rune Arledge. Remember Rune Arledge? He did Monday Night Football. You know,
That's right.
that doesn't make me that guy. It doesn't make me you know, the guy that's a master at this stuff. But 1 minute 30 seconds, first round. You're already seeing Zayas taking control and range in and out, using his jab. Like I said about Zayas, he's so smooth to me, and he's technically solid in I would say every department. I'm not saying there's one department where, you know, he lights up the whole arena, but I don't see one department that he's not good at. You know, like I said, he might not be great in one area, but man, he is solid in so many areas. Look at him. He goes to the body. He picks his spots. He got one for a low blow. I didn't see it low, but the referee did. He's using his jab to control things on the outside, which is always important. Stabilize your opponent with the jab. You see the way he does these little subtle things, people? Steps out, steps in. He's got a good understanding of reach, and he never puts himself in a bad position. Look at him. He's in good punching position. He doesn't reach. He takes the steps. His feet are under him when he punches. He's not a humongous puncher, but he's a guy who he'll put them together. He'll place them well. There's a little bit of a counter opportunity with the left hook. Again, he can do a little of anything. He can go, you know, he can go in the trenches, go in the kitchen, cook up a little something. He can step out. He can step around the guy. He can set traps. He can counter punch. That's the end of the round. They went back to their prospective corners, and already you can see the opponent from Germany. He's not being treated like the way you want to be treated when you're a visitor to a new country. You know what I mean? He's not getting real good hospitality. He's got a bloody nose. He's getting banged up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a tough start for him. The round just ended for me, so I am about 30 to 40 seconds behind you. But yeah, that was a beautiful round for Zayas. That, like you said, that jab, could already see bloody the nose. Good start for Zayas.
Yeah, see how calm. This is what I look for, the little subtleties. I look in the corner, see how calm the guy is. He's very calm. Look, nice and calm, taking a deep breath. His corner man's take it through the nose, let it out the mouth, nice and easy. Fill the lungs up. There's a nice left hook. He started low, came high. That's always, I always talk about, it's not just the power. It's not just that, you know, a guy went out there and, you know, knocked a guy out or hurt a guy because he's got power. It's the delivery system. You know, it's the technique attached to the power. How does he use it? Does he have a way of tricking the guy where he could deliver the punch clean? And even in that left hook, you saw a little bit of that with Zayas. He went low, got the eye level of the opponent to go low, and then he came high. Little subtle things allow you to score punches. You know, it's not just about throwing a punch. It's about throwing a punch at the right time, at the right distance, and throwing the right punch. Well, I could hear the fans already saying, Teddy, what do you mean throw the right punch? You got to be calm in an uncalm environment. You got to be able to know and see what the right punch is. Is it an uppercut? Is it a jab? Is it a hook? There's a great former fighter. Is that Roy Jones Jr. there? I think that is. Is that Roy Jones, buddy?
Work in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're ahead of me, so I don't see him right now. But yes, in between the first round, seeing the corner of Spomer, it did look like Roy Jones Jr. working the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, great former champion.
Him.
Yeah,
there he is.
Several weight classes, even won the heavyweight. People forget about that against John Ruiz, you know. But yeah, the thing about Roy Jones Jr., he was a master at a lot of things. He had power, he had speed, he had everything. But he was also a master. There's not too many guys that I could say this about at making wrong right. He could break the boxing rule book, 101 boxing instructional book, doing things wrong, pulling back, dropping his hands, all the things you don't want to teach someone. And he could make it right because of his timing, his speed, his reflexes. You know, not too many people could do that. In other words, he kind of walked to the beat of his own drummer. Well, here's somebody doing a pretty good job of beating the drum of Spoma. He's hitting him like he's hitting a drum. Again, controlling range, Zayas. Every once in a while, he'll move off to the side, look for a different angle. He's little things like that. Good defense there. Dropped his left a little bit, but he still slipped a punch. And again, when he does throw, you see, Buddy, how he gets into position with his feet. He's never really out of position where he's reaching or he's helping the opponent by doing his work for him, by making himself available, by, you know, getting reckless. If you're going to beat him, you're going to have to beat him. You're going to have to beat him by coming up with a good plan and being good. Yeah, he's not going to help you by making mistakes. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And the only way I see Spoma getting into this fight, because he's not in a fight right now.
Right.
The only way I see him getting in this fight, Bud, is to time. He's going to have to time Zayas with a perfect shot. In other words, he's going to have to take a risk, and he's going to have to sit in a pocket, and he's going to have to punch with Zayas. And then he's got a shot to catch him. But if he don't do that, he's going to be $1 short and a day late all night long. Or maybe it's a day late and $1 short. But whichever one it is, he's going to come up second. He almost caught Zayas going straight back. That's something that you always got to be careful with the young fighters, that they don't go straight back. Here's a replay that I'm seeing, at least. Yeah, again, controlling range real well, showing good defense there. Zayas did drop his left hand. I don't love that, but he made the punch miss by having good eyes and good head movement. Going to the body there, Zayas. Again, just good basics. You know, controlling range. When he wants to be in range to punch, he gets in range. When he wants to get out of range to make Spoma uncomfortable, make him reach a little bit, he gets out of range. When he wants to make him miss, he moves his head. Oh, nice body work there. Real beautiful body work there. And you know what I like about the timing that Zayas is doing? Boom! He makes a miss, bang, right away. He fills the hole right away. Right away. If you fill the hole a split second late, Bud, oh, beautiful. Left hook to the body, right hand to the head. He's got Spoma in a little bit of trouble here. You know, when you make a guy miss, because D'Amato, my mentor, used to say, Teddy, you got to make him miss just enough. Why? How come? Because, well, if you make him miss extra, you still made him miss, but then you can't come back and catch him quick enough. But if you make him miss just enough, then you could do the other part. You could come and catch him. You could come and catch him right away. If you make him miss by too much, by the time you come back, the guy got his hand up. The guy got out of range. And I love that Zayas makes him miss just enough and comes right back. Right back. You got to make him miss, and then you got to make him pay. You know, you got to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You know, you can't just make a jelly sandwich. You know, you got to have the peanut butter.
Well, things are heating up. Some good work here by Zayas. You described him perfectly to open up. He is silky smooth. Everything he does is pretty effortlessly. And he's having his way so far.
Yeah, I like him. And like I said, he's not a huge puncher, but, you know, he will have an accumulative effect, especially the way he goes to the body. And, you know, he'll get the job done. I mean, I'm going to say now, I'm going to put myself out on a ranch, even though there's undefeated kiddies in front of him. Man, I'm going to say he's going to wind up stopping him in a few rounds. before the final bell. I'm just going to take a shot, even though Spoma's very game. And like I said, Zayas isn't a TNT puncher, but he's catching him clean. He's going to the body. You know, he's starting to break him down a little bit, not only physically, but mentally.
Yeah.
And when you start to do that, well, good things happen for you, bad things happen for the other guy. So what do you think so far, bud?
Yeah, round 3 just ended for me. Zayas, exactly what you're saying. He just way out in front, looks comfortable. He's doing what he wants right now, right? And Spomer's struggling to find an answer right now. I think the only chance would be what you said, to catch Zayas pulling straight out, maybe with his hands down, and try to maybe step with him and catch him on the way out.
We got any fans? Yeah, you want to try to make a mistake, go straight back, go with them, stuff like that. And that's where guys get hit. When guys get knocked out or hurt, it's usually because they did something technically wrong. There was a defensive flaw. You know, they went straight back with their hands down. You know, they didn't move after they punched. They didn't cover with the left hand fast enough, and they got caught with a right hand counter. You know, it's usually I like what Spoma just did there, but you didn't see it yet. But he just tried to time the jab of Zayas with a right hand over it. That's what he's got to do. He's got to do that now. He ain't winning no decision. He's got to look to catch him something clean, and they're going to call that a low blow. The referee was a knockdown, but they're going to say it's from a low blow. You're going to see it now. Let me see. Oh, yeah, it was low. It was on the side of the cup, but it was definitely low. It was definitely low.
Oh, it just got to it. Yeah, that was low.
He could use the break right there, right? Look at the way Zay is just there. He didn't catch him clean, but he looked for a left hook counter. He's just looking to count. I love the way Zay is just going in and out of the pocket. And when he's in the pocket, he's punching in between the punches. Oh, man, it's beautiful. He's punching in between the punches of Spallman. That's why he's starting to take him apart. He's punching in between the shots. In other words, he's not throwing just naked cold punches where he's just throwing, the guy can prepare for them. He's throwing as the guy is most vulnerable, as he's punching.
Oh, yeah, you could see Zayas just how comfortable and confident he's grown by the second here, too.
Yeah, and he's got good eyes, good vision. He's seeing everything. If the fans out there got any questions, any stuff, but we could deal with it because Zayas is dealing with Spoma. I could at least deal with the fans' questions. I think I could handle that. My man Ben Garcia here, he's having fun watching this with us, and we're happy and very.
Yeah. If we get some questions, I'll throw them out to you. But I think the viewers right now that are joining us are just enjoying watching the fight and your commentary.
Oh, beautiful right hand. Again, he's timing him. He's catching. See, Spolman's got a little fat on his punches. They're a little fatter than Zayas's. A little wider, right? So that means there's space. And look at, left hook. And again, it was in between a right hand. It wasn't just a naked left hook, guys. He threw it as Spolman was throwing his right hand. He threw right in between it. I mean, he's giving this guy, it's like a rainstorm now, and he's not letting him get out of the rain. You know, he's giving him nowhere to, Spolman just timed him with a nice right hand there. Got the attention of Zayas there. You can't get reckless. Can't get reckless. I give this guy Spolman credit. He's not bad. He's just in there with a very good fighter. But he's not bad. He's game. He's fighting he's fighting in the U.S. for the first time, and he made an adjustment. He's trying to time. He knows he's way behind.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm way behind.
He's trying to time, as I said earlier, Zayas in between shots, and he did. He got Zayas' attention there. He really did.
Yeah.
Zayas is going to have to correct those things. He's going to have to, I'm sure with the good people around him, he'll go back after this fight, even if, it looks like he'll win, but it's not over. But even if he wins, I don't like guys to just go to the next one. I want them to see, what did you do wrong? We know you did things right. You won. But what could you have done better? What you do wrong? You got to correct those things, because if you don't correct them, there's somebody out there that's going to take advantage. There's someone out there that's going to make you pay a price. So if I was to train, and he's got good people, I'm going to watch the tape and say, okay, look, we dominated most rounds. We get it. But look at these spots where he caught you. If that's somebody else catching you, you know what? There it is, the right hand. The right hand. There it is. It got, wow. You're going to see it in a minute, bud. Good, solid right hand. And he caught Zayas loading up. Zayas was loading up. He had his left hand low. He was loading up with an uppercut. He was taking things for granted because he's dominating. And he got careless. He was throwing a punch from too far away, and he left time for Spoma to beat him to it with a right hand as he was throwing a big right uppercut. And he got, did you see it, bud? He got
it was a beautiful
attention.
right hand. Yeah, he did. And Spoma, maybe not the biggest puncher, only 11 knockouts coming into this fight. Talking about Zayas, he doesn't seem to be the biggest puncher, right? He's very sound and solid in a lot of areas, like you're saying. Right now, from what you see early on, what would be the weakness? Where can he improve, or where would you look to exploit?
Just in those spots defensively where I love when he engages guys in a pocket. He's showing you he's a real fighter, and he's showing you the confidence in his talent, in himself, that I'll stay in a pocket and I'll get there first. But there was a few spots there where he showed a defensive liability. Not that he's not technically solid. He's very solid. But he threw the uppercut from too far away. He had his left hand down. He was in punching distance to get caught. Those are things you got to tighten up on. Now, part of it is technical, but part of it is mental concentration, where you keep that focus, that concentration, stay on edge a little bit, no matter how big you might be winning a fight, because in this business, one punch turns it around. So I'd work on that, not having those careless moments, those lax moments, those moments where you take something for granted. Low punch again, and he's trying to catch him in the body, and it looked like it was a little low. We're going to see it in a minute. You're going to see it in a minute, bud. You're a little behind.
Yeah, it's hard enough trying to keep up with you watching a fight, let alone 40 seconds behind you.
You know boxing better than most people. You never had
that one watching live. You'll see the replay before me. I don't know. The first one looked blatantly.
No, this was low, but
low.
You know what it was? It was partly because of Spoma. He pulled the neck down. He pulled the head down of Zayas, and it kind of helped Zayas go low. Like you're going to see it in a minute. He pulled his head down. He pulled Zayas' head down and his body down. That caused the punch, the right uppercut, to go low. So
yeah, exactly.
He was a little bit of a culprit in this too. See how his right elbow and forearm is pushing Zayas down. Now look, Zayas put his head there, he leaned forward, but yeah, he pushed him down, and the punch went low.
He's milking all the time he could get out of this break. I don't blame him.
Yeah, he's trying to survive here, but I give him credit. His temperament is not to just survive. He's trying to still win. A lot of guys that are losing this badly in the 5th round and being dominated, their will has already been damaged or seeped. This guy's still, and they're just strictly trying to survive, bud. This guy's still trying to win. The guy's a real pro. The guy's a real pro. That's the end of the round.
Starting to take some big body shots from Zayas.
Yeah. You know what I always say when I was commentating on a regular basis, that going to the body is kind of like, putting CDs in a bank. You get paid interest later. You don't see it
That's
right
right.
away. You don't see it right away. You say, where's my money? You know how people are. Where's my money? Where's my money? Show me the money, Jerry. Jerry Maguire, right? Great movie. Show me the money, Jerry. Show me the money. You're not going to see it right away. But just like when you put the money in the in the CDs, after 6 months, a year, you're going to start to get interest. Well, you don't have to wait that long in boxing. 6 rounds, 7, 8 rounds, you start to see the interest.
Before we start this next round, we got a question from A. Toda. He's asking, do you remember a guy named Jimmy Thunder? You remember Jimmy Thunder? I don't.
From down under?
I don't know. He's saying one of the fastest KOs in the history of the game.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Thunder from down under, baby. A heavyweight, I believe, if I'm correct. Yeah. What was the KO? Let's see if we could try to figure out which KO that was.
I think it was Samoan-born fighter, New Zealand professional boxer.
I've never met a Samoan fighter that couldn't punch. They're thick boned for the most part, and just have natural power. I mean, natural power. I don't mean like they're in a weight room lifting weights. I mean, like just heavy, dense muscle and heavy, big bone guys that when they tap you, it's like being tapped by, a wooden log.
Yeah, David Tua.
Tapped by a wooden log. Yeah, David Tua. What's that? Another low blow? The referee's not considering it low, so they're going on. The Zayas is sticking to that body and going to really try to, as I said, cash out by going to that body. Again, give credit to Spoma. He's taken a lot of punishment. And, it's a testament to 2 things, bud. We always try to call it straight here. Doesn't mean I'm right, but means that I want to try to be right and not allow anything no biases or relationships or anything to get in the way of me saying what I want to say to the fans, the boxing fans out there. But it's a testament to 2 things that Spoma is still there. One is how game he is, and the other is, that Zayas is not a huge puncher, but he's a clean puncher. He's a smart puncher. He's an educated puncher. And like I said, he's solid in just about every. He's got to hit a few clean shots tonight. Maybe that's what I would concentrate if I was a trainer. I'd say, look, you didn't get hit a lot, but when you did get hit, let's say you got hit 4 times. Let's just use an arbitrary number. You got hit 3 or 4 times clean. We can't get hit clean. We can't get hit clean because that could be a guy who is a dynamite puncher. So that's corrected. Why'd you get hit clean? Well, one time you threw from too far away. Another time, you used bad judgment to throw a punch. You shouldn't have thrown at that point, at that place. You should have just stayed on the defense and looked for another spot to throw because the other guy was set on his feet. He was looking to time you. You dropped your left. You got to correct those things. You got Roy Jones in a corner trying to motivate.
Zayas having his way right now. Do you think he just goes about his business if he gets out of here for the next couple rounds, wins the decision, moves on? or does he have to stop this guy to be really considered that next level at 154 pounds?
Yeah, listen, I hear what you're saying. It's a good question. They're showing now, I think this is the kid Mason, the young prospect. I don't know. I don't have the sound, so I'm not hearing it. But is this the kid Mason that yeah, it's
You're
Mason.
way ahead of me. I can't see him yet.
Yeah, they just showed a clip of him scoring a knockout. I have no idea who his opponent was, but he's a good prospect, this kid Mason. He's a good, young, talented prospect for a couple reasons. One, his amateur pedigree. Two, he's solid. He's got good people teaching him. He's solid technically. Three, he's got talent. And four, he showed me the heart of a potential future champion when he got off the floor twice. I think it was his last fight or the fight before. He got off the floor twice and wound up winning a fight. So he showed me the character, the heart that you want to know if besides having talent, besides being technically good, you want to know, does he have the champion quality in that way? And he showed he did. You know, in other words, it's like buying a car. You want to pick up the hood of the car. Yeah, you know, yeah, everything looks good. The tires, the paint job, really nice. But you want to pick up the hood and see, you know, see what kind of engine is there. And he showed that. And that was his heart and his mental toughness.
Yeah, that was his last fight that he was dropped twice in. And tonight he beat Manuel James.
Yeah.
Fourth round knockout for Abdullah Mason, who's now 17-0 with 15 knockouts.
Yeah, he's probably got to step up a little bit, but some people would say, Teddy, he got dropped twice. Don't you think that was a step up? Yeah, the guy wasn't bad that he fought that he got dropped. The guy was pretty solid, but I think that you step up. I like to step up where he's going to go the distance, possibly with a guy that's not dangerous, but just a guy that's experienced, that will give him a fight where he can answer some questions about himself in a fight without facing any real danger if he falters, but will still test him by taking him some rounds and again making him answer questions that he hadn't answered. But we're back to Zayas again, just pretty much just putting rounds in the win, in the win column.
Yeah, he's banking rounds for sure. That's kind of what I was asking earlier. Does he need to put an exclamation point on this performance? Does he need to try to push it a little more and get this guy out of here, or just
I
do
don't
what he's
think so,
doing?
bud. He's undefeated. He's 22 years old. To me, I still think he might get him out of there, but the kid is a tough kid. But to me, he needs to get experience, and he's getting it. To me, he needs to show he can be consistent. Not good for 4 rounds, not good for 6 rounds, but good for 10 solid rounds. Because you do it 10, you could do it 12. He needs to show that he can be solid technically, physically, his endurance, of course, and mentally for 10 rounds. And the only way you can show that is by having a chance with a guy that's going to take your rounds. So for me, that's what I want to see. Did I see consistency? Did I see defensive lapse and or lapses? And the answer is, yeah, I saw a couple defensive lapses, and that's good, because I'd rather see them now than where we could go to the classroom, back to the gym afterwards and correct them, than not see them now and find out about them when we're in that top fight for the title. So to me, it's about, that's a good question, yes, but I mean, if you knock a guy out, you destroy a guy, does that help you as far as your, the fan base, as far as the television networks, people buzzing, people getting excited, about you? Yeah. Does it help in that way, selling your brand? Yeah, it does. But to me, his brand is all going to be about how consistent can this kid be with his talent. Again, he's not a dynamite puncher, but he can be a dynamite fighter. And to be a dynamite fighter, he's got to be consistent round after round. And this is a fight that gives him a chance to do that. And I think that's what we take away from this fight and what his people take away from this fight.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of good rounds, a lot of work.
I like his combination left uppercut, right hand to the head, or left hook to the body, right hand to the head. He throws that well. I like his defense there. He showed good defense there again. I like the uppercut. He was accurate with it. He picked his spot for it, and he didn't stay around too long. I see a growth in the fight where 3 rounds ago he was getting caught time shots because he was staying in the pocket too long. Now what did he do? He got a little smarter. He said, okay, I'll take what I get, and then I get out. I'm not going to stay in the pocket. I'm not going to get careless. I did get caught.
Right.
I like that, bud. I see him improving in front of my eyes. I see
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I see him making adjustments on the fly. Here we are in the ninth, what is the 8th round? Yeah, 8th round. I see him adjusting on the fly. He got caught 3-4 rounds ago because he stayed there too long. Now he's not. He's not getting greedy. He's
right.
Getting what he can get and getting out. He's not trying to be a shark where he's going to eat the whole thing. He's trying to be little piranhas where he's taking little bites, and it figures the little bites, sooner or later there'll be nothing left but a skeleton. And I think that's kind of where we're going.
Some of the viewers are asking, how do you think he compares to the top guys at 154 pounds, like Madrimov, like Ortiz, like Sebastian Fundora?
Well, Ortiz more of a power puncher, but I think who are the other ones? Madrimov.
Israel Madrimov.
Madrimov, good, solid guy, real solid guy who's going to look to time you too. So good. I mean, he's in there with all of them, but they're tough fights. I think he fits best with Fundora, and I'm taking nothing away from Fundora, but I think he might. Although Fundora can punch, so you don't want to get timed with him either. But Fundora will stand straight up and tall, give up his height. He will engage you, and he will give you opportunities, to do what he does well, which is place punches pretty well when you're standing tall. I think I think he can. I think Fundora probably fits the best with. Who was the other guy? Just those 3 guys?
Yeah, those 3.
Look, Ortiz is the most dangerous of them all. Madrimov doesn't get enough credit. He went the distance. He was competitive with one of if not the best fighter in the business, one of the top 3 in the business right now, Crawford. I don't think he gets enough credit for how solid he is and how awkward he is. And unorthodox he is. He had a great amateur pedigree, probably about 300 fights, even though he only had 10, 11 pro fights. So you can't sleep on a guy like that either. But I think this kid's going to wind up being in there with anybody, and not being out of the
not be out of place. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I like what he's doing here. He's trying to step it up. To your point, he's trying to put that exclamation point on it, that exclamation mark on a win. He's trying to do that. But at the same time, what's he also trying to do? Stay responsible defensively. I hope the audience out there is enjoying watching the fight with me as much as I'm enjoying watching it with them.
We're getting some comments talking about commentating. We just got one asking, any commentators that were your favorite listening to the fights?
Yeah, Gil Clancy was very good. Gil Clancy was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very good. I mean, I'm talking about color analyst. There's a body shot. What did I say? I said I think he's going to stop him, right, bud? I might
It's
get.
getting it's getting closer to that.
Yeah, he's got 2 rounds to do it. I think
I
he
got a
might
minute
do it.
40 left on my
Yeah, I
TV
got a
here in the
minute
ninth.
10. Minute 10. I think he's going to get rid of him this round. Oh, another
This
body shot.
round.
Yeah, I think he's getting rid of him this round. Ah, I got a surprise for you, bud. In about 20
Oh,
seconds, you're going to see. I
that
got it.
body shot just buckled.
I think I got it right, bud. If we were doing live betting right now, if we were doing, which we might be doing one day, bud, we might be doing some, a show because you want to do a lot of different things, bud, because you're the
There it is.
technology. You're the
There it is.
technology whiz. You're much smarter than me. I'm the caveman, but you want to do a lot of different stuff. And we might do a show with live betting or with, you know, handicapping and for people to make wages. And I would have I would have said, hey, obviously Zayas was a huge favorite, but I would have said if we were doing live betting, and that was the intent of the show, which it wasn't, I would have said what, 5 rounds ago, 6 rounds ago, 7 rounds ago, which I
Yeah,
said,
you
right?
called it.
I
You
said
called it.
he's going to stop him. He's going to stop
Yeah.
him. So probably could have made $1 doing that.
Couple dollars. You was spot on. You nailed that one. And we will do some of that moving forward as we do. This is a staple more live stream so of some of the live betting. Because you see it faster and better than anyone.
Well, you caught it right, bud, about putting money in the bank. The body. The body is what broke him down. I mean, everything, the pressure, the everything. But the body, the body, the body, the body. You know, and he is a good body puncher. He's a dedicated. It would be interesting to see him with another dominant body puncher named Virgil Ortiz. That would be pretty interesting. Wow, wow. I don't know how
Yeah.
long it would last, but it would be pretty damn interesting. I'll tell you that much. I'm gonna line up some questions, but if the fans are percolating, I'm gonna run into the. I think you know where I'm gonna run. I'll be
Yeah,
back.
we'll take a quick little break. Yeah,
Yeah,
now I'll see
quick,
what
quick.
the viewers have.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right.
What are you doing, right? Hey, bud.
All right. So we got a few minutes before the main event is gonna be coming on here with Keyshawn Davis and Berinchyk.
What are we doing? What do we got there? We got people asking any we got any chatter?
Yeah, here's a question we just got. What kind of adjustments would you give Bivol, if any, to take on Beterbiev in the rematch coming up February 22nd in Saudi Arabia?
Well, the main one I would give him is in the championship rounds, don't give him a chance to get to your body, because that's what turned that fight. It was an even fight. He might have had an edge even, but it was a real close, terrific fight on both sides. But it was a real close fight going into those late championship rounds. And what turned it in favor of Beterbiev was the body work by Bivol just staying a little too long in front instead of get off, get out. And hey, look, it's easier said than done with a guy who's putting that kind of pressure on you all night long. You know, it's easier said than done, but it's got to be done. You can't stay there too long. Instead of throwing 5 punches, you got to throw 3 and get out, and then throw again. If you throw that extra punch or 2, you just stay there a little too long. You get caught that body shot or head shot, and that's what Bivol does to you. You can't stay in front of him too long. You got to get your shots off. Get your respect. All of that. I get it. But then get the angle, get out, get off. You can't stay there just a little too long. And that's what I would concentrate on. I mean, there's a way of showing it and there's a way of drilling it in the gym. But that would be the key for me, is because, again, that's what turned the fight to Beterbiev's favor, was when he caught him in the body late. He got Bivol to cooperate with him to stay in front. Not that he wanted to, but by going to the body, his legs betrayed him, and he started becoming more available to Beterbiev. It's all about geography in this fight. Beterbiev wants geography in close, and Bivol's got to own the geography at a distance. So for me, that would be the key.
Yeah, how about just a quick one on the 4-fight deal for Canelo?
Yeah, look, to me, you can make it 40 fights, 400 fights, 14 fights. I want to know who they are. I think the first one with Skull, I think that it's probably not a tough one. Taking nothing away from Skull, he's undefeated. He's got a belt. But I don't see that as a fight that I necessarily would have to mark on my calendar, to say, hey, I got to make sure I'm not out somewhere. I got to make sure I'm home for that one. I don't know that that's the one that is going to make me get excited about the 4-fight deal. But the next one with Crawford gets me excited. But to me, here's the whole thing. It sounds good, the 4-fight deal, and it's terrific, right? It sounds good. But what's the reality of getting to those 4 fights? See, that's what it comes to me. I've been in boxing my whole life. I wasn't born with this nose being flat. You know what I mean? So I live in a realistic world. I live in a world where you don't move your head, you get hit. So I'm looking at tangible stuff. I'm looking at, reality. The reality, what's the reality of getting to those 4 fights? I mean, the second one is the first challenge for me, Crawford. Okay, there's an if there. If you get past that, who's the next guy? Now, if it's Benavidez, if it's the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev, I'm in. I want to see that. I'm in. If. I don't know if it is. That's the big thing. Who are the guys and how far down the road does he go? There's a good chance he doesn't get past that fight. So there is no 4th. There's a chance you don't get past the second. And again, there's a chance if he gets past the second, the third might not be one of those guys. And if it's not one of those guys, I lose a little interest in it. So it all depends on those questions I just put out there.
Yeah,
I like
makes
the
sense.
idea, though. I like the concept.
Gustavo Marlin's asking, should Abdullah Mason, who we just talked about before, fought on the co-feature, get a title shot?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd like to see him get a little more seasoning where he gets some rounds under his belt a little bit. He's got great talent. He showed me the heart in his last fight before this one, where he got dropped. He got off the floor. He behaved like a champion. It's not enough to fight like a champion. You got to show you can behave like one. He showed that. So I'd like to get a fight where, as I said earlier, put him in with a veteran that's going to go rounds with him. That's not a dangerous puncher, but it's gonna, it's gonna take him on the highway a little, and see again, ask him questions that he hasn't been asked yet. It's important for a fighter when he goes into his first world title fight to know he's got answers to questions that are going to be in his head. Can I depend on myself at this next level in the late rounds? Can I depend on that? So you gotta try to answer those questions for a kid when you're in charge of developing him and bringing him up. So I would like to see a little more seasoning, but I like what I see with the kid.
Yeah, another question. We're bouncing around a little bit. Back to February 22nd. Question from Francisco Bonilla is asking, if Daniel Dubois beats Parker, do you think he has another chance to fight or possibly beat Usyk next?
Yeah, he's got a chance. He's got a belt. Turkey Al-Sheikh is all about making the biggest fights and making unification fights. He already did that a few fights ago when he had, the first fight with Fury and Usyk. First time they unified the heavyweight title in 25 years since Lennox Lewis had done it against the great Holyfield, the great Lewis, the great Holyfield. But yeah, he's got a chance. Of course he does. But I think it's that fight, probably they would let it marinate a little bit because, it's a dangerous fight for both guys because Dubois is not the same guy he was when Usyk fought him the first time. He's a better version of himself. He's found himself. He's more mature now. He's more sure of himself. He's mentally more together now. So he's a much more dangerous guy now than he was the first time they met. And and he's young, and Usyk's getting up there. He's getting older. So I think before Usyk would take a fight like that, he would look at other things. And again, Dubois got other things to look at too. And there's fights out there, especially over in the UK, that might disrupt some of the bigger fights between Usyk and Dubois from happening until they clear the table. When I say clear the table, probably, even though both guys are coming off losses, clear the table with Joshua and Fury, because that's still a fight that the English fans still would go and buy, and that's still a fight that's hanging out there that I think that the promoters would like to get that one. And then, of course, once that is cleared up, then you have to look at all the, what options are there besides Usyk and Dubois.
Yeah, we got two questions from Matt Borgeson. He's asking, Keyshawn Davis, he'd win tonight against Berinchyk. What do you see for his success tonight? What do you need to see?
Just a win. I mean, I get down to the simple stuff. Just a win. Just a win. Because when you win the title, like the old timers always told me, you automatically become 30% better. Just the confidence of being a champion. You automatically get better. You might, everything you do, you might be doing the same things, but you do it better. Just winning. He just has to win. Just has to win. I mean, for me, what I'm looking for him to win, I've seen in the last year that he's settled down. He's got seasoned. He's got more mature. And he doesn't move too much anymore. He moves, but before I thought he was moving sometimes too much, which is what happens coming out of the amateurs. Now he settles down where he controls range. He's more set to punch. He bends his knees. He grabs the floor. He still changes position and can move, but now he gets his cake and eats it too. He can move. He can also punch. He can sit down on punch. He can control range. And instead of just moving too much for the sake of defense, now he can move in a controlled way where he's always got the possibility for defense and offense. And that's the sign of a mature fighter. That's the sign of a seasoned fighter. That's the sign of a fighter that's coming into his own. And that's what I'm looking to see. If I see that, he'll probably win the fight. And controlling range, using his jab, putting punches together in an educated way, going to the body. Because he's got an awkward guy, a guy who likes to use his legs in and out, go to the body, take the air out of the tires. If I see that, I know that he has graduated in a way that I've been watching him graduate. And now he finally got his diploma and he gets out of college.
Yeah. The second question from Matt was, what advice would you give Jared Anderson, heavyweight, who returned to the ring on the undercard tonight, first fight after being knocked out, his first loss to Martin Bakole? He struggled a little bit tonight. What advice would you give Jared Anderson?
He's got to, listen, Anderson probably don't think I like him or something. People get, a little sensitive, and I get it. But I said a while ago that I just didn't see him improving. He's athletic. He's a big heavyweight. He had a good amateur pedigree, but I didn't see him improving. I didn't see him technically. I saw too many technical mistakes, pulling straight back, standing straight up, sometimes throwing punches from the wrong position where you could time them, which showed in the Bakole fight. He was throwing the punches, uppercuts from too far away where you could get beat to it and get timed by a guy who's seasoned, the guy who's experienced, obviously a guy who's a good puncher like Bakole was. It wasn't me trying to knock a guy. It wasn't me being against him. It was me doing my job, just pointing out that I didn't see the improvement that I think you got to see, just the development in a young fighter as he comes along. And I didn't think he was getting any favors done by fighting the kind of guys he was fighting, where he could get away with doing things wrong and still win. Not that you wanted to put him in with a guy dangerous early, but at least a guy that if he's doing things wrong, you're going to pay a price, not an ultimate price, not get knocked out, but where you could go to the drawing board in the gym and say, okay, we got to correct these things before we step up with a guy like Bakole. I mean, as it turned out, we didn't know that ahead of time. So for me right now, it would all be about teaching. It would all be about correcting those things, correcting those fundamental technical flaws that have gotten in the way of his progress.
Yeah, makes sense. A couple more before we get to this main event here. Gustavo Martins is asking, who wins at cruiser, Beterbiev or Usyk?
Well, it wouldn't be easy for Usyk to go down to cruiser now. And I mean, he's put on weight and it's muscle. I think that would be a big factor. I don't know if Usyk could go down. Let's remember when Roy Jones went up and beat John Ruiz for the heavyweight title, and then he went back down, he had a problem. And the weight might have been that. It was great fighters like Antonio Tarver and Glenn Clough Johnson and those guys, but still losing that weight when you put muscle on and then going way down again, it could take away from you, it could hurt you. And I'd be concerned about Usyk again going down to that weight class after he's been at heavyweight for so long. And again, where the muscle has been formed. I'd be concerned. I mean, it would be a great fight. They fought a few times in the amateurs. Let's not forget that. Matter of fact, I think in the Olympics, Usyk beat him, but he got dropped, I believe, to the body. I believe he got dropped by Beterbiev, but Usyk won. Usyk,
Yeah, he did.
you know, he did the thing that he always does. He wins. Let me give a little, just a little bit of, I think I did some of it already by answering some of those questions, but let me give a little setup.
Yeah, for this main event.
Yeah, for Keyshawn Davis
Yeah,
and for Berinchyk.
before we do that real quick, let me just throw one quick random one at you from Everett World. Just since we just touched and finished with Usyk, he stated that after he wants to fight the winner of Parker and Dubois next. After that fight, one more fight, and then he's going to retire. He would love to fight Alex Pereira from the UFC in that last fight. What would you make of that crossover fight?
Say that again. I missed some of it.
Alex Pereira versus Usyk in a boxing match.
Oh my God. No, I take Usyk. He's more solid, in all areas. I mean, defensively, he's not. I mean, Pereira he can punch. It'd be interesting. He's got a great left hook, a great counter left hook. He's punches are not made; they're born. He was born to punch. He definitely has one of the most beautiful counter left hooks, short and sweet. Punches good with the right hand too, but good puncher, dangerous guy. Sets traps really well with short left hooks like Joe Louis. Could catch you coming in with that short left hook. But, it ain't going to be as easy to land on a guy like Usyk as it's been to land on some of the UFC fighters whose defense or defensive abilities are not as developed as Usyk's.
Right. Makes sense. All right. We got to answer a decent amount of questions here in between, so I hope the viewers enjoyed that. But go ahead. Why don't you give us the setup for this main event with Keyshawn Davis walking into the ring right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, the for me, lay of the land is this. I touched on it before. I think that Keyshawn has been developing in the last year where he's sitting down more, he's more in control of space. He's not just moving all over the place. He's fighting a guy. You got to know who you're fighting, his strengths and weaknesses. He's fighting an awkward guy, an unorthodox guy, a guy who's a good, solid fighter, good amateur pedigree. They both won silver medals in different Olympics. You're fighting a guy who he's not a puncher, but he's a guy that's steady. You got to be steady. You got to be consistent. This guy's going to be there for the most part all night. And for me, what is the MO of Berinchyk? To use his legs, go in and out, get off quick, get out, counter punch, beat you to the punch, keep you off balance, right? So what do you got to do? You got to take that away. You got to stabilize that movement in front. You got to use your jab. So for me, Keyshawn's got the length advantage. Use that jab. Even if you got jab to the chest, stabilize him, control the middle of the ring. Use that jab just to stabilize him so he don't do what he does well, which is get off first, pot shot you, control the rhythm of the fight. Don't let him create the rhythm of the fight or control the rhythm of the fight by getting into that pattern of going in and out. Use the jab to disrupt that pattern, to disrupt that rhythm. Use the jab again to destabilize and stabilize Berinchyk on the outside. And then once you start doing that, make Berinchyk make mistakes. Make him come out of his game. Make him start having to reach in. Make him start having to take chances instead of, controlling the theme of the fight by going in and out where he gets you to reach, he counters, then he gets off first, then he keeps you off balance. Keep him off balance with your jab to the chest. Keep him from being set. And I like the way Keyshawn has been putting his place in his punches in the last few fights, where he's sitting down more, he's getting more power, but more importantly, he's throwing accurate, educated punches, not only to the head, but to the body. I want him to control range, use his jab to do that, and set up nice body shots where you take some air out of the tires of Berinchyk. What did we just talk about? Berinchyk uses his legs real well to keep you off balance. Take those legs away. Go to the body, and just be steady all night. With control and range, setting up good combinations to the body. Again, not allowing Berinchyk to really fight his fight, to control the rhythm of the fight. That's the lay of the land for me. That's what I'm looking for from Keyshawn, and what I'm looking for from Berinchyk. Again, to try to keep this kid off balance, to try to beat him, get out. I think both guys want to do the simplest thing in boxing: fight their fight. It's not always that simple. It's the simplest idea and concept, but it's not always that easy. It's one of the great fighters of all time, middleweight, Carlos Monzon. He was tall, he was long, he did a lot of things. But for me, the best thing he did was he made other guys fight his fight. And I think that's kind of what both guys want to do, is fight their fight. Don't let the other guy make you fight his fight. And you see Bomac, right? Brian McIntyre in the corner. I got to give him credit. I mean, Keyshawn's with him now. He's been with him for a few fights, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how many, buddy.
I think he's been with him since his pro debut.
Has he? I didn't know.
I believe so.
I wasn't sure, but
yeah, but Brian Bomac,
he does a good job. Him and his whole crew with Crawford. One thing I got to say about Bomac and his crew, and I've said it before and I'll say it again because it's true. He always has his guys prepared for the style of fighter that they're fighting. He's always got a good game plan. His guys are always ready, not just ready, technically and physically, but ready to fight a specific fight against a specific opponent. He does his homework. He's a good game planner. He's a good fight strategist. Always has his guys ready. Always to fight the right fight, not just to show up in shape, but to know what in particular they have to do to win that night, or to give themselves the best chance to win. So there's the Ukrainian flag, of course. Berinchyk from the Ukraine. He fought on the Olympic team with Usyk, with Volcik, and with Lomachenko. They were all teammates, and of course all world champions. So
that's right.
Getting ready. They're being brought to the center ring, but you're about 30 seconds behind me. But they're being brought to the center ring right now. And the first thing that jumps out, you mentioned it earlier to me, Bud, so I'm going to kind of piggyback off it. Just Davis looks bigger. He's got that frame. He's got that skeleton. He just, he looks big, and with that, I'd like to see him, like I said, control the outside of that ring, and make it hard for Berinchyk to get in. Make it hard for Berinchyk to gain ground. The way I used to say it is, make your opponent go through a bad neighborhood to get to you, and mug him while he's trying to go through that neighborhood. So yeah. I'm into 2 minutes and 37 seconds of the first round, and already you see the jitterbug stuff, and that's a good way, I think, for me to describe Berinchyk. He's a jitterbug. He's a jitterbug. He's switching from orthodox to southpaw. He's unorthodox. He tries to confuse you, but he's a jitterbug. He's in and out. He's all over the place. And the best way to fight a jitterbug is to get him to not jitter no more. Use your jab. Take the jitter away with your jab to the chest. Stabilize him. Slow him down. Control him. But don't reach for him. And I like what I see so far early. Controlling range really well. Keyshawn, using the jab, body and head. Trying to, again, I think he's trying to get a feel to stabilize this guy. Just time him with the jab, time him coming in. He just threw a nice left hook, but you're going to see in a little while. Keyshawn threw a nice left hook. That shows me he's ready. Like I said, Bomac always has his guys ready with the right strategy. And when I say ready because of a counter left hook, I'll tell you what I mean. Berinchyk, the good news about what he does for himself is he keeps you off balance. He goes in and out. He's a jitterbug. The bad news is when he's coming at you, you can see him coming, and you can have an opportunity to time him coming. And I think that's on the mind of Bomac, the lead trainer, and Keyshawn, to see if you can be set, because you can't time him if you're not set. To be set to time him coming, to punch at the right spot when Berinchyk is coming in, throwing his punches. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. Right now, it's getting a little sloppy. And again, it's styles make fights, right, bud? And
Absolutely.
Berincyk's got that style. He wants it to be ugly. He wants it to get sloppy. He wants to get you into that unorthodox feel. But I think Keyshawn's not wasting anything. He's placing shots at the right time. And for me, the right time is use the jab to stabilize him on the outside, look to time him coming in, and then look to time him going out. You know, what I like to say when I was doing the commentating, Berincyk's the kind of guy you could time him coming and you could time him going. That's the end of the round there, but they're in the corner. I thought that Keyshawn landed he didn't throw a lot, but he didn't need to. He threw at the right time, the right spots, and he landed the more consequential punches that round. He threw at the right time. You know, he threw a right hand when he was going out. He tried to time with a left hook coming in. Again, he's looking to place his shots appropriately, not just throw. I like guys that play shots, don't just throw. A lot of times you see a firestorm, right? You think it's a firestorm. One guy's throwing, but the other guy's placing. Usually the guy placing is usually gonna win the fight or have a better chance.
Yeah, it's just how much bigger he is. I mean, he looks like a welterweight tonight to me, Davis, if not bigger, 154-pounder.
Yeah, he does look bigger.
Yeah, I'd give the first round to Davis, controlling it with the jab and just more effective punches landed. I think you made a good point of him using the jab early on and not being hesitant. It kind of reminded me of all that movement, the awkwardness you're describing we're watching of when Israel Madrimov fought Crawford, right? And Crawford was kind of a little trying to figure it out in the movement, and it made him a little lower volume puncher, at least early on in that fight, until he adjusted to that awkward style you're 100%. Talking about here.
Yeah, in that fight, Crawford and Matrimov's herky-jerky movement, upper body herky-jerky, it presented problems. It threw the timing of Crawford off early on for the first half, maybe half of the fight. It threw his timing off, and it made him overthink. It made him overthink a little bit instead of just letting his punches go. And as the fight went on, he realized, instead of watching the herky-jerky, let me time it. I'm thinking too much about it, and it's starting to get to me. It's starting to control me. It's starting to mesmerize me. Let me just throw into that herky-jerky. And that's when he started to take better control later in the fight. It's getting sloppy again on the inside.
Yeah,
again, that sloppiness is from Berinchyk, his style. He'll come at you, he'll rush in, he'll overshoot you a little bit. He'll get wrapped up with you. He switches lefty and righty again. And again, the puncher here is Davis. Davis is the better puncher. He's the guy who's going to land cleaner. He places punches better. He's going to be the better puncher.
Right. Berinchyk only 9 KOs in his 19 wins.
Yeah, to that point. You see how Davis is not wasting anything, bud? He's looking to, again, that's him and that's Bomac. He's looking to time and let it go at the right time. You see that, Ben? Ben's watching the fight with me. Ben Garcia here helping us. He see when Keyshawn throws, there's a good chance it's going to land because he ain't thrown it otherwise. He ain't thrown it from out of space where he can leave himself open. Berinchyk does throw from out of space and leave himself open. Keyshawn's not doing that. He ain't going to throw unless he's in the right position at the right time. You know, like I said, he's not wasting anything. When he throws, it's for a purpose. It's for a purpose of placing a punch to a spot. And he's got a better chance of landing clean punches than Berinchyk does with his approach.
Yeah, round just ending for me here. I got it 2-0 for me for Davis.
Yeah, me too. Again, it's not about the work rate. It's not about the punch volume because there's not a punch volume from Keyshawn. It's about the quality and the quality and the accuracy. And even though nobody's landed really anything significant, in those areas, quality and of punches and accuracy, Keyshawn is the guy. And he's going to be the guy because that's his temperament. That's his style. He's going to play shots. He's going to throw at the right time. Where Berinchy's going to be, you know, more of a risk taker, coming in there a little reckless, which he just did. He reached in a little bit, and Keyshawn's looking to time him, looking to stabilize him with the jab, but also just looking to time him with a left hook coming in, I think, is his choice. And then maybe a right hand in between a shot. Good body shot there. I think it was a knockdown. Nice body shot. What do we talk about? He might have slipped a little too. What did we talk about earlier, bud? Take air out of the tires. Go to the body, right? Stabilize Berinchyk. Take his movement away. Take his legs away. What's his strength? What's his strength? His strength is his legs, right? Being a jitterbug. What's the best way to stop a guy from being a jitterbug? Use the jab and go to the body. Take away the legs. If you don't have legs, you can't be a jitterbug. There are no jitterbugs out there without legs. I think Keyshawn, the way he's looking here, has got a chance to do something that probably most people didn't think could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but stop him because he is starting to zero in on clean, effective punches. And he is the puncher here. He's the bigger guy. You can see that. And Berincyk's liable to walk into a shot because he is coming in reckless. Yeah. And Keyshawn's he's in the right gear now. He knows what he's got to do, and he can do. He can time him coming in, and he can time him going out. Catch him going, catch him coming. And
yeah, I like the right uppercut, maybe catching him coming in. I think that might be the punch.
I agree because you got a shorter guy who's leaning a little bit. Especially if you start banging that body more, he's going to lean more. You're right, bud. He just leaned there. He didn't throw the uppercut, but he did lean in.
It's also switching more to southpaw now, more susceptible to the right hand.
Yeah, the southpaw killer.
Just so much bigger, so much faster. Davis has all the physical advantages. As you would say, the neon talents are glaring for him and not for Berinchyk.
100%. He's the more talented guy. Bang. You're right. But I also like the way he's just using the talent with his technique, with his mind, with his fight plan, with his calmness. He's not over anxious. His first title bid, but he's not over anxious. He's patient. He's controlled. He's a pro. He just timed him with a nice jab, Keyshawn. Yeah, he's starting to put them together a little more now.
Right.
I see a chance for a stoppage here.
I think to some people out there might say, Berinchyk don't look like much, but just talk about how impressive so far it is to be able to, in 3 rounds only, dealing with this kind of pressure and awkward style, Berinchyk.
Yeah, no, he's shown his pedigree, Keyshawn. You know, all those amateur fights, 150, 200, I don't know what it is, but somewhere in that area. So he's showing that. Good body shot there that scored the knockdown. Let's see it again. We'll watch it again.
You
Nice
just see it
body
in
shot.
the eyes of Davis growing by the second here.
Yeah, he's confident. He's feeling it, as you would say. You know, he's feeling it. It's his moment. It's his time. He's feeling like, okay. You see Berinchyk, his blood coming out of his nose, you know, from being timed with those jabs, you know. He never had a pretty nose to begin with, but it don't look any better right now. Kind
Well,
of
that
like,
body shot landed. It wasn't the cleanest looking knockdown.
yeah, a little bit in the behind the elbow there. He
Yeah, to
found
the
the right.
side.
He found the clean spot though. Kind of like when I remember when Mike Tyson scored the knockdown with Michael Spinks. I think it was the first knockdown before he knocked him out. He found a good body shot, but he found it. He got inside. He found the spot. He found the opening. You know, he moved himself into position to where the opening was, and Keyshawn did that. I think there's a chance what you said, Bud. I think there's a chance. Keyshawn now has to make sure he don't get smothered. Where the guy he's rushing in, he's smothering him, he's looking to make it sloppy. I think he's got a chance to catch him coming in, like I said early, with the hook or with the uppercut. And then I think he can take a half a step back and catch him again. Because when Berinchyk tries to reach in or fall in, if he don't step back, he's going to get smothered. He's going to get tied up, and that's going to stop the flow of his offense. But if he takes a half step back at the right, I think right here, if Keyshawn at the right time, after he initially gets off, if he could take a half step back as Berinchyk tries to, you know, smother him to stop the punches, he'll be able to have room to keep punching. He just did that. Just did it. He moved his feet nice, and he scored a knockdown to the body. Beautiful. Just what I was talking about. Took a nice, that's smart. Took a nice, I think it's going to be over. He took a nice, what did I say? He could get a knockout, could get a stoppage. When are we going to start doing this live betting, Bud? When are we going
Right
to
now.
start doing it? Yeah, nice job by Keyshawn. Won his first title. And there's going to be others to come.
I just got to the left hook, dropping him to the body.
Yeah, but you see the way he moved his feet to set that up where he had room?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
beautiful.
he gave himself room. You know, I always talk about it. It's not the punch.
Wow.
Everyone can see the punch lands. Everyone sees the effect. Everyone sees that. But how did it? It's the delivery. It's the smarts. It's the you know, it's the science. It's the sweet science. He took a little step back, gave himself room, knowing that, you know, he read the guy. He read the guy after a couple rounds. This guy's going to try to smother me. This guy's going to fall in. If I don't take a step back, he's going to smother me. If I take a little step back, I'm going to have room to keep my punches going. And he gave himself room to keep his punches going instead of getting smothered. And that's why he was able to land that left hook to the body. Yeah, he won his first title. I think there's going to be more. He's a young kid. He's got a good skeleton. He can move up in weight too, I think, and be successful. He was well prepared. He was well prepared for this style. There's the kind of left hook I talked about. A little bit of step back, nice left hook to the body, the liver area. Again, left hook counter didn't really land good. A little defense, and then a left hook as he was moving his feet to give himself room. Again, left hook counter, not big, but and then he makes him miss the right hand, and then the left hook to the liver area, and that's all she wrote. It was already discouraging him. He was already discouraged. But you see how it was poetry in motion a little bit, Bud? You know, the sweet science, like as he was making a miss, as he was sort of walking in the rain without getting wet, you know, he's punches coming, he's making a miss, he's punching in between, and he's moving his feet so he doesn't get smothered, and then he finishes the job with the left hook to the body. Those are things that are taught in the gym. Those are things that it's not just the talent. It's the technique attached to the talent, to use the talent the right way. And he used the talent the right way. There's Bo Mack with another world champion. It seems like that's all he does is work with world champions. He's very good at his trade. There's not a million real trainers out there, but he is one of them. He is one of them.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job. I'm assuming here in a second.
Robert Garcia is another one, by the way. He's training plenty of world champions, doing a good job with a lot of guys, including Bam Rodriguez. Go ahead, bud. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year this year, Robert Garcia.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say I expect Keyshawn Davis to grab the microphone here, and what do you think? He's calling out Tank Davis. He's friends with Shakur Stevenson. He said they will never fight each other. Obviously, Lomachenko has a belt. He hasn't fought since winning that belt versus Kambosos. And Tank Davis has a fight coming up on March 1st versus Roach. Do you think that would be a little much too soon, or is that a fight that we could potentially start talking about?
Yeah, we can start talking about it. He's coming together. I told you the last year, Davis is coming to his own. He's settled down. He's not just throwing. He's not just moving. He's placing. He's controlling range. He's mixing defense and offense. He's being consistent. He's not over, zealous. He's not over anxious. He's not helping his opponent by making mistakes. You gotta earn your way with this guy now. Before, he was just a guy with fast hands and talent, but he wasn't maximizing it because he didn't have the seasoning. He didn't have the experience yet. Now you see he's come to where he's putting those parts with the talent. It's kind of like I always like to make the analogy where it's like having a Ferrari. You got the Ferrari, beautiful car. It's got all that horsepower, but what the freak good is it if the driver ain't good? It's just going to look good in your parking lot. It's just going to look good in your driveway. In your garage. You got to keep the garage open so the neighbors can see it, right? You want to show it off. But otherwise, it ain't worth, that's about it. You got to have a driver that knows how to drive it and not crash it into walls when you start going fast. And the driver for me is the mind, it's the experience, it's the technique. And he's the right driver for this car. Yeah. And he's only going to get better. This title fight's going to make him 30% better. Just the fact of knowing he's the champ, knowing he's there. It's going to improve him. Just that alone. Yeah, I mean, look, Tank Davis is one of the best fighters in the world. I got him in my top 5 pound for pound. I mean, he could do everything in the ring. Everything. He could press you, he could counter, he could set traps, he could use his legs. He's patient, he's controlled. He doesn't really make mistakes. He's defensively responsible. He can punch like hell, but he's smart with his punches. Just like I talked about Keyshawn, he places beautiful time punches. Does Tank Davis. He's a dangerous fight because he's not only good, but he could get you out of there in one punch. But I think that Davis is not out of the conversation. Keyshawn's not out of the conversation with Tank. I think he's only going to get better. And he's good enough to not be embarrassed to put him in with any top guy now in that division.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Tank Davis. I mean, he's got the edge with experience. I get it. You can't make a mistake with him. I get it. But I'm telling you, Keyshawn is he's becoming and maybe has become a complete fighter.
Yeah, he really is.
I don't got my volume on, bud. So if you're listening to him, You let me know if they ask him the question about who he wants and all that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked good. He looked good. I think we were on top of it though. You know what we expected, and I think
Well,
when
you nailed the co-feature with the knockout and this one as well.
see
You
how
said
he's
it right
walking in the
away.
rain there with the replay. You're going to see it in a minute, but he's walking in the rain without getting wet. As he's stepping back, he's slipping a right hand. He's slipping a punch. I think it was a right hand. He's slipping a punch. And then as he slips the punch, he comes back. And then he finishes with the left hook as he's giving himself room to deliver those punches. That's talent, but it's also sweet science. And this might be the last time you see him fight on ESPN, bud. That's another thing that we can give to people that probably normally you wouldn't even talk about. But
Yeah, that's a
it
good
might
point.
be, yeah, it might be the last time you're going to see him on ESPN because ESPN has announced that they're not going to renew the contract with Top Rank. I think it's July. I believe it's going to be July. Their contract runs out, and they had the option of renewing it. They decided not to renew the contract with Top Rank. So this very well might be the last time you've seen Keyshawn on this platform.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's next for him if he does get a unification bout. And that division's heating up. We got the young kid prospect Andy Cruz from Cuba. Obviously, Keyshawn wins a title now. We talked about
And
Tank.
don't forget, Cruz is the guy who beat Keyshawn in the Olympics, bud. Cruz won the gold, and Keyshawn, of course, won the silver. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought
That's
that up.
Yeah, that is why I brought it up. I just wanted to watching the progression and now the world champion of Keyshawn Davis. How far behind is Andy Cruz if he is?
Listen, when you're a gold medalist and you had all those fights and you come from Cuba, and you've gone through the things you've gone through to get over here from the communist country, you're usually mentally tough. You're usually, ready for what's coming, um, just from life. You've had a whole bunch of amateur fights. He's only got about what 8 pro fights, something like that. Um, you
Andy Cruz, I think he only has 4 or 5 pro
oh
fights.
5. So yeah, 5. So but he's got he's only got 5 pros, but he's got all those amateur fights. Which we've had
Yeah, he's
great
5-0.
fighters. We've had great fighters show us that you don't need 20, 30 fights to win a world title. Lomachenko did it with 2 fights. Rigondeaux did it with a few fights. You want to go back? Leon Spinks did it with a few fights against older, great Muhammad Ali, but an older Ali. But still, he had the Olympic pedigree. If you have that Olympic pedigree, you're not a normal pro with 4, 5, 6 fights. You're more advanced than that because of all the experience that you've had. So that would be a really interesting fight. Andy Cruz, who beat him in the Olympics, fighting Keyshawn. I would favor Keyshawn right now. I just think he's developed more in his pro career. I see him, of course, he's got more fights, but it's not just that he's got more fights. I just see a development in him where I'd give him the edge over Cruz right now. But, again, Cruz is, he's obviously a top talent and a special fighter, or a guy that can be a special fighter with his background, his talent. But right now, if you did make that fight now, which you wouldn't make it because it wouldn't be worthwhile the risk for either guy right now. I think they got to build that. They got to marinate that, and both guys have to, do other things in their career first before you want to make it worthwhile, make the risk worth the reward, or the reward worth the risk. But I would favor Davis right now.
Yeah, they it'll be interesting. His number one mandatory is we talked about Robert Garcia before, the great trainer Raymond Muratola, who's undefeated prospect. That'll we'll see if that'll be next, but that
That's an
could be,
interesting fight.
yeah, exactly. That could be a really good fight. So that division, like we said, definitely heating up.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. 100%. Any questions out there speaking about heating up? Because you
Yeah,
know what?
we're gonna we'll see if there's another question or two that comes in, but otherwise we're gonna sign off here in a few minutes. We will be back tomorrow. So for those viewing right now, and we posted it as well, but you will commentate tomorrow the Jack Catterall Arnold Barbosa fight across the pond in the UK. So I believe that starts about 5:30 Eastern for the main event.
Yeah, that'd be. I mean, that's one of the great atmospheres is fighting. You know, you got great atmosphere in different places, but you got great Mexican fans, you got Irish fans, you got great Puerto Rican fans, you got, all great American of all denominations fans. But I'll tell you, across the pond in the UK, there's some of the greatest fans. And the
Yeah.
atmosphere is like being at a soccer game. They start singing songs, you know, Sweet Adeline. I mean, really, it
Sweet
gets
Caroline, but you renamed
well,
it for
I'm
your
sorry. I
granddaughter.
said Sweet Caroline. I said Sweet Adeline. I'm sorry. That was Freudian slip because that's my granddaughter, Adeline. So
Yeah.
we changed the name of the song to Sweet Adeline. But yeah, Sweet Caroline. I mean, when you hear that in the fight atmosphere that you get with the great fans over there, I mean, it moves you. I mean, it can give you goosebumps. I mean,
Yeah.
it's electric. So you got the great fans, great atmosphere there. You got Catterall, who's a great counterpuncher. You got Barbosa, who we've seen him be aggressive, and we've seen in his last fight, where he won his last fight, he gave a boxing lesson. He stayed on the outside. He used his jab. He was a counterpuncher. You know, he was a guy who was not pushing the envelope. He was looking to control the outside. So it's going to be interesting. Um, does Barbosa box, or does he feel the burden of having to come forward against the counterpuncher? Or you're going to have both guys trying to counter the other guy. It's an interesting fight.
Yeah. Before we sign off here, just a few last questions. Matt Borgerson asking, does Keyshawn have the personality to be a next star of boxing?
Well, he's definitely exuberant. He's definitely talks. You know, he definitely is not afraid of being controversial. I don't know what his likability factor will be, as far as some of the things that he says, but you got to give him a chance to mature with the title. You got to give him a chance to grow up with the title and see where he go. I seen him mature with his boxing over the last year. Let's see if he matures with his attitude, with his approach in that way. But I would say that he's not a shrinking violet. He's not a guy who's afraid to say things. He's not a guy who's afraid to say things that can promote a fight, obviously. It's just a matter of, can he say the things that promote the fight that also, as you just touched on, or as the fan just touched on with the question, that also sort of meets of approval with the fans, that ingratiates himself with the fans, in a proper way. Fans like different things. Sometimes they like the brashness. He could definitely be brash. Sometimes some people love the brashness. They like that stuff, and sometimes they don't. But I think he's definitely a guy that, put it this way, a smart PR guy, just like a trainer works with a fighter in the gym on his style, on his talent, on his technique. A good PR guy can work with a kid like Keyshawn with trying to form what makes the most sense for him to promote himself and to use his personality.
Yeah, we had a question. AZ Ray, there's a card I wasn't familiar with. All female card on March 8th, I believe, in Thailand. Boxing card, all female. Uh, what do you just make of the golden age of female boxing? Is that now with this card kind of saying that with Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano and Clarissa Shields, and just any thoughts on the female boxing landscape?
Yeah, you got some great female fighters. I mean, they're tough, they're smart, they're good, they're battle tested. Some of them are very experienced, like Serrano and Katie Taylor. I mean, you got terrific talent. You got warriors. They make good fights. I mean, really, you got Clarissa Shields, who might be the best right now, but Katie Taylor's arguing that too. Serrano, but of course, Clarissa hasn't lost. She's a two-time gold medalist in the Olympics. Katie Taylor, of course, won the gold medal in the Olympics too, but she's getting older. But you got a lot of talent out there. The problem is you don't have a lot of opponents. Serrano's got Taylor. They're going to fight for the third time, and they're taking a lot out of each other, and they're getting older. So, okay, great fights. But where it comes up short, and I'm not saying this in a disparaging way, but just answering the question in an honest way, for me at least, you got Clarissa, you got Katie, you got Serrano. Again, they're getting a little older. But who else do you have to compete with them? That is, for me, the challenge of women's boxing, Bud, that you have enough competition to fight these great women. You got a handful of great ones. Do you have enough of a dance card? Because the great ones have to have dance partners. Do you have, outside of Serrano having Katie and a couple others, there was a few other go and then of course, as I said, you got Clarissa Shields, but you don't have. You could use more competition. You could use more dance partners. You could use more fights, opponents to fight them that can have a real chance of beating them, where it's not just them and a couple that have a chance with them. You just need to have more viable opponents to fight these great women. That's the only thing that I think women's boxing might need a little bit more of. But
yeah,
there are some tremendous fighters that make tremendous fights.
Yeah, talking about women's boxing, we had a question. You just brought her up, Clarissa Shields. She tested positive today for a trace of marijuana in her system after her last title defense. The question is, do you think that she will be stripped of undisputed for her positive marijuana test?
Boxing is as much political as it is physical or, talent-wise. So my answer would be I doubt it, because of the politics. She's one of the faces of women's boxing, along with Serrano and Katie Taylor. I don't see her being stripped of all her titles for that. Again, we just finished saying, when I answered the other question, Bud, right? We just finished saying there's only so many you can identify with in the women's, there's only a few you can identify as top stars, and there's not that many that could compete with them. So what are you going to do? You're going to go wipe out one of the top ones? I mean, right or wrong, everyone has to be accountable for failing that. There's no doubt about it. But I doubt that they're going to go too harsh and strip her of, how many titles does she have? She has a few belts, right?
She's undisputed.
So I would tell you, if you want to go and put a bet down in Vegas on that, if they did have a line on it, they ain't stripping them. Maybe the GOAT right now of women's boxing, they're not stripping her, for that.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see it.
Yeah, we got a question from Toto Madre. This is a tough one. Tonight, Jared Anderson fought. We talked about it on the co-feature, but he's asking, are there any American heavyweight prospects out there? And off the top of my head, and I'm thinking, I can't name any.
I'm not familiar enough, so I'm going to be, again, I always try to be fully transparent. I'm not familiar enough. I'm sure there's somebody coming out of the amateur ranks, out of the Olympics, out of the nationals, that's where they come from, right? They're the ones that were boxing since they're 10, 11 years old. They got 100, 150, 200, 250 amateur fights. I'm sure there's somebody coming out of there that I'm not aware of right now. I mean, you got the kid that Top Rank has. Is he from Puerto Rican kid, Torres, right? I think he's a Puerto Rican kid. He's
Oh,
American.
he's American kid. Yeah,
Yeah, I
there you
like
go.
him.
So I think silver
Yeah,
Olympic
silver
medalist.
medalist. Okay,
Yeah,
he's the
that
one. I
that's
found
a
one.
good one. Torres. Yeah.
Yeah, Torres. Yeah, that he would be the guy that I would identify.
I wasn't
Um,
thinking of him. I was thinking of guys, that are on the way. The Moses Ayatuma from UK, and
yeah,
you saw Martin
they're from other
Bakoli and
places.
Agit Kebayel, exactly. But that's a good one. Yeah. All right. I think we're winding down here, but I think we've been on for quite a while. I hope all the viewers enjoyed it tonight. I know I did, and we'll be back, like we said, tomorrow for the Jack Catterall fight versus Arnold Barboza. Any closing words before we sign off?
Nah, just I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed. Being, like I said, being back in this seat, conversing with the greatest fans, the greatest sport fans in the world, the boxing fans. I hope I enjoyed being with you. I hope you enjoyed being with us. And we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow, as my son said. Then we'll be filming our podcast Sunday. That means we'll be up on Monday, where we'll be giving a full appraisal of all the fights and looking down the road, looking forward to the fights coming, which will be a preview on our podcast, I guess, Monday, where we'll be talking about that unbelievable February 22nd card in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. One of maybe the greatest card ever. But I mean, obviously the main event is Bevo and Beterbiev, but every fight on that card is a main event on its own. Every fight. And not just a main event, a good main event, a top main event. And meanwhile, you got 7 of them, or 6 or 8, or whatever the hell it is. But it's
Yeah,
a
seven
lot.
seven fights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of good fights. We'll be doing that. We'll be forecasting that. And listen, it's in your hands. If you want us to do more of this, pass the word, come out, show it, you know, show up. And if we see it, what's that movie? Field of Dreams. You build
You
it, they're
build
gonna
it.
come. Okay. We're gonna build it. If you come, we're gonna keep building. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed it.